I know, we're at bent. But before we start, let me do the thing that we normally always do. Let's do this. Anyway, just to fill you in kind of like what's been going on with me, I haven't been on in quite a long time. I haven't made a video. I've been wanting to, just to probably doing stuff I shouldn't be doing, is interfering in what I should be doing. But I enjoy making the videos. I love making the videos. I love talking about trucking. I love doing a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I like to do. Unfortunately for me, sometimes you can't always do what you want to do. You know, I don't know, maybe it's my age. 25, you know, getting up there and stuff, you know. I got kids that are almost 50. I mean, anyway. What happened is, I went on vacation from December the 23rd until January 2nd. Had a beautiful time. We went to Memphis, New Orleans. We went to New Orleans, so let me cut that out. We took a trip to Memphis, stayed the night there. Then we went to New Orleans and stayed 2 nights there. And then we went to and did some Mardi Gras, you know, not Mardi Gras stuff because at that time, but we did walk the streets. We stayed at the Astor, which is right there. I mean, it's right there at Bourbon Street, Bourbon and Canal. So we can walk. We walked to a lot of the stores and the seafood restaurants and stuff, and we stayed there 2 days. From there, we traveled down to Galveston. Galveston, Texas is a beautiful place to go if you ever want to go. It's right on the Gulf of Mexico. It was beautiful. We stayed there 3 days, and to be honest with you, I see why John Denver had a song about Galveston. Galveston, Texas is just absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, it's right on the Gulf of Mexico. We walked the beaches. We went to all different sites and stuff over there. I don't want to bore you with that because I want to get back to trucking. But from there, I went to Houston, and then from Houston to Dallas. Met up with my son that I haven't seen in 10 years, and yeah, I was only 15 when he was born. Yeah, and anyway, and he's 23 now. So anyway, so then we went to Kansas City, Kansas, and from there back to Chicago. So got back in Chicago January the 2nd, and my company moved. They moved from a location that they've been forever. Or they moved down by Ford City, if you know where that's at in Chicago. So on the second, I went and started my truck because it was plugged in, and I drove it over there and I parked it, and I know that they didn't have an electric over there, so I had a feeling it was going to be a problem. But so then I got sick for 12 days. I had a sore throat, running fevers for 12 days. I was sick. Soup every day, and just had a real fun time being at home. So then I went to try to start my truck, and I worked on it all day. So I knew the only way that my truck's going to start is I had to fix the block heater that I had on my truck. Now I have electric block heater. Almost all diesels have a electric block heater. But many years ago, I'm thinking, to be honest with you, I don't know what year I bought it, but I bought it a long time ago, and I'm going to give you a picture of it. It is a Webasto block heater that runs directly off your diesel fuel, or you can put the small tank that you know, you can put a small tank on somewhere on your tractor and fill it with diesel fuel, which is stupid, but mine runs directly to my fuel tank, so I don't have to worry about that. And what it does is right by my seat, when I get in, I flick the switch and it turns that box on. There's nothing else to do. It turns that diesel box on and fires up. It's like a little boiler, and it has a water pump on it, and it's hooked up to your heater hoses so that it will circulate the block. And in the cold weather, it takes about an hour and a half, I guess, to heat it up. If it's just cold out and not really below zero, you can probably at 40, 45 minutes have a water temperature of 130 or 120, somewhere up there. That's warm enough to start it, like it's summertime. So my investment in that box at that time was about $1,000 or so, plus installation. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And I also bought a box like that for the bunk heater, so that I don't have to run diesel fuel. And what a lot of people don't know, and I'll link a picture to that also, that unit I've had for about 8 or 9 years. Matter of fact, I had it since when I first bought my truck. I did install that heater on there, a couple years later I did. And that cost me about $875 plus installation. But on that, it has temperature and a bunch of stuff, so when you jump in your bunk, you hit this button, and that sucker turns on, and you'll wake up with your throat dry closed, if you have the heat up high enough. So, and it was a beautiful thing. I mean, so those things run according to the documentation. It'll run all night, say 8 hours or so on a gallon of fuel. Can't beat that with a stick. And it produces enough heat to where my Freightliner will be toasty in there, without a doubt. I mean, it will warm my Freightliner up in less than 5 minutes. It'll be toasty in there. And that's without me cranking it on high. Just setting it for like 75, and oh my God, I mean, it'll take a truck that's in the 20s and you'll have 75 degrees in just a short time. Never seen nothing work so awesome in my life. So I have one on my bunk and I have one for my block heater. So because where I was parking before, there was no electric there. So I go there in the morning, go grab a cup of coffee, come back in about a half hour, and my truck popped right off like it was summertime. So it's a good investment. Very, very good investment. So for what I did is where I've just recently parked, there's no electric. Not yet. So trying to fix that, I had to take off the old hoses, and it's cold out and wet. I put all new hoses on it, and I got all that done. But I think I had a line that was kinked, and I didn't notice that when I installed the new line. So it was kinked. So when I first fired it up, box fired right up like it always does. And the hose coming out, I felt it. It was hot as hell. But what it was doing is it was stopped because the line was twisted. Couldn't flow through. So I don't know if I damaged it or not. I got to find it out. Or I'm thinking that maybe there's an air bubble in it or something to where it's not. Because the box is firing up, but that hose is not getting hot now. So I don't know if it's just that I'm not waiting long enough and my batteries are pretty low, because like I said, I couldn't start. I tried starting the truck and the batteries were 8 volts. So bad shape. And but if you want something to keep in your truck, I would definitely recommend Webasto. I'm not trying to. This is not a commercial for Webasto. Forget about the brand name. There's other stuff out there that can do the same thing. But for me, I purchased Webasto and they last for many years. So it's not about them. So this is not a commercial for them. I'm just showing you that this is what I used. It's a good investment, especially if you're an owner-operator, or even if you've got company vehicles. I mean, because the cost factor for running a truck all night long is a gallon an hour is the rule. So 8 hours at $5 a gallon, just for say, $35–40 every night. Wear and tear on the engine, chances of a turbo failure and blowing the engine. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that can happen, especially when you have a diesel that's idling that long. They will do it, but it's definitely not a healthy thing for the truck. So think about, what I'm saying. It's something that's good to do. Like I said, and the nice thing about it is, suppose you go to Iowa and you get at least lately, there's snowstorms everywhere. Trucks getting stuck everywhere. So maybe you don't have enough fuel to last all night, or you're a little scared. I mean, I get scared sometimes if I try not to run my truck low on fuel, first of all. Because in the wintertime, what a lot of people don't understand is on my Freightliner, we're going to talk about my Freightliner now, the fuel pump grabs from the driver's side tank. Now, a lot of people might not know this. The diesel fuel sucks up, goes through the filters, of course, goes through the head, through the rack, sprays down from the injectors, and then there's a return line. There's a return line that goes back into the passenger tank. So it picks up out of the driver's tank, circulates through this hot-ass engine, and drops it back down in the passenger side. And then there's a crossover pipe that brings the fuel back. Why did they do that for? That's so that in the wintertime, and I guess in the summertime too it would work, but in the wintertime, it heats the fuel. All your fuel heats up so it doesn't gel. I've owned my truck since 2012 and it's gelled one time, and I don't put additives in there. Like heat, sometimes people throw some heat in there. I know owner operators, they used to put a little bit of gas in there. I don't do that, but I once in a blue moon, I mean once a year maybe, I'll throw a can of heat in there, because I'm sure that there's going to be some water down in the bottom of there. I have a fuel separator, so it's not a problem. But the diesel fuel circulates through the engine, heats up, drops back in the other side, and then through this crossover pipe it comes back. So eventually all your diesel fuel gets warmed up. So that's a good thing. But still, if you run that truck all night long, you're going to be looking at minimum $40. And like I said, a lot of wear and tear on the truck. So to have a block heater, so you go out there and you get stuck in a snowstorm. If I had 50 gallons of diesel fuel, which is not a lot since I hold 300, 50 gallons of diesel fuel is 50 nights that I can run my bunk heater and stay warm. Think about that, what I'm saying. Where if you have 10 gallons of diesel fuel, you're going to burn that up in that 8 hours or so, or 9 hours or whatever it is. You're going to burn that fuel up. And normally, my truck, the temperature in it, and I do have 195 thermostats in it, but when it's idling like that, it doesn't, it probably drops to 165, 170 and stays there because I have a fairly decent radiator on my truck. I got a 14-liter engine, so there's a lot of water there, so it keeps it cool, you know. So the temperature inside my truck it will stay warm if I have that heater on, but it's not toasty. But if I turn that block heater on, I mean the bunk heater on, it's toasty all night long for 1 gallon of fuel. Something to think about. I mean, if you had both boxes, you're looking at $2,000 installed. But just think, let's see, $40 times 365 days if I live in my truck is ching ching, fly by. So I recommend in the wintertime adding a little heat to make sure you keep moisture out of the system, and having a block heater that's diesel ran. If you don't, because even if you're using your electric block heater at where you park, you're on the road, there's no electric to plug into, so you have to start your truck. I remember before I had my heater, what happened is in the middle of the night I'd start getting cold, wake up, start the truck, and sometimes my truck would be, it started, but it was boom, 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 boom. You know how you get that cold run start when you start, and there's boom, 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 and it's smoking a little bit, and it's boom, 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 and then it levels off, and then you're good to go. And then in about 30 minutes you got heat. So this box, click, turn the bunk heater on, click. Cost effective, man, I'm telling you. That's the only way to do it. Block heater. I buy Webasto. I'm not a commercial for that, so I'm just showing you that there's a unit that you can purchase and one for the block, for the punk also. It's a good investment. But anyway, so try and stay warm, drivers. I know that it's been nasty out, and it's just January, so we still got February. But the thing of it is too is sometimes on cool nights, even in the summertime, you know, it gets down to 40 degrees or something like that. I'll go bunk heater, throw the blankets off, and just chilling. You know, something to think about. I'm Big Jim Trucker. I hope that makes sense to you. The cost of fuel, like I said, $40 for that's like 8 hours. So, you know, sometimes you might get stuck someplace where you're there. You're supposed to sleep 10, so you're going to be there minimum 10. So, plus 2, you might be waiting for a load, or you might whatever the scenario is. So think about it. Gallon an hour is the rule in some trucks. Unless you got one of them big freaking cats, and I'm sure it's a lot worse than that. But, so anyway, peace with you, and I hope this is informative for you. And try and stay warm, drivers, and I'll catch you on the other side.